at American University with head coach Jason Borrelli. So, Coach, just kind of a quick, I don't know, recap or your thoughts and takeaways just as you looked at the 23-24 season.
Yeah, I thought it was a season where we showed progress in a lot of different areas. Felt like, as you start getting better and better, the progress gets a little slower and slower. I felt like when we first started here from year one to year two, we saw big jumps. And then year two to year three, we saw jumps, but maybe not as massive as we felt like there was between the first 2 years. But we had a lot of nationally ranked wins. I felt like that's a good sign within your program when you're competing as individuals and you're starting to regularly beat nationally ranked guys, whereas those were harder and harder to come by when we were first started. And so I felt like we showed substantial progress there. From a dual meet perspective, we are competing now with better teams. We probably had about the same dual meet success as we did the year prior, but I feel like the competitiveness within some of our bigger duels was higher, and so that's exciting. And then we've done a lot with our fan base to grow our alumni support and to grow attendance at matches, and we've done things with mat side seats, and so just changing the feel of wrestling on the campus within the community, and those are things that are really important to me. So I feel like we had a lot of progress and a lot of growth. That being said, I feel like I'm really excited going into year four because we finally will have everybody in our program for an amount of time that I feel like is necessary for guys that were freshmen that we inherited to really be at a high level, and so that's exciting.
Yeah, and kind of along those same lines, looking at last year you had some talented freshmen who maybe could have gotten into the lineup. They redshirted. You had a guy like Caleb Campos, had a very good redshirt or very good true freshman season, then redshirted. So maybe they could have helped you last year, but now they're ready to go. You're stuck with the plan as far as redshirting them. So that has to be exciting as you're looking into this season.
Yeah, for sure. We get a couple guys into our lineup that I think will give us a lot of energy. Caleb Campos being one of them, and he'll go up a weight. He started as a true freshman and had a good year, as you alluded to, as a true freshman, and then was able to redshirt and had a real good redshirt year. Placing in a lot of tournaments and doing very well. Um, but you get guys like Max Lee back, who's an NCAA qualifier, Jack Maida, who was a qualifier 2 years ago, back, Will Gerald, who was a first alternate at heavyweight, is back, and then Caleb, and we also have a kid named Raymond Lopez, who has been in the lineup 2 years for us, but has never been able to really compete at his most competitive weight. He's kind of been a utility guy, and then mixed in with some of the young kids that we've recruited that redshirted this past year, guys like Cohen Bainey and Caden Milheim and Gage Owen. I mean, there's a lot of great guys, and Emmanuel Ulrich at heavyweight. So we have a lot of good youth, and to be able to now mix them with some very veteran wrestlers, I think will help us a lot. And I'm really excited, and I think that the team is as well. I know the vibe on the team in the locker room and around our summer workouts is really high, and we're not naive and oblivious to the fact that we're going to face a lot of challenges, but we certainly feel like the year four is going to be a big year for us.
And so we've done a visit and seen the new construction, but if you could just give us a kind of a quick another refresher on what exactly is going on with the program, the construction you have, and the new addition to the school.
Yeah, just a lot to be excited about. We are in the process of building a new athletics facility called the Meltzer Family Center for Athletic Performance. And the Meltzer name is synonymous with AU, but specifically with wrestling. So Alan Meltzer, him and his wife Amy. Alan wrestled at AU as an AU alum and very generous. Him and his entire family are just amazing people. And they gave the major gift to the new building, the new facility. And so the building is going to be named after his family. And within that building, although it's a hub for all athletics, it will be a primary stop and a one-stop shop for wrestling. It'll be a new competition venue. It will be a new wrestling practice facility, wrestling locker room, team lounge, coaches' offices, weight room directly below us. So for our wrestlers, it will have everything they need. And, that's much needed for us. I certainly don't think facilities make all the difference in the world. They certainly show and say to recruits and speak to people that wrestling or that specific sport matters on the campus. So that's nice. But what it does for us more than recruiting and more than that impact is that it actually will be a functional space where we'll be able to train appropriately. So our room currently, it gets the job done, but it's small, and sometimes you have to be creative with practices when you're in a small room, split practices, or you just have to do some things differently. When we get in a new facility, which will be over 3 mats worth of space, we can run practices the way we feel like we need to. And so I think from a training perspective and a student athlete development perspective, we will be much better off. So it's definitely a recruiting tool, and it's great, but it's also a functional space for us to train, and so we're really excited about it.
So one thing, as I'm looking at your team and your staff, you have Alex, who was with you, I think, 8 years at Stanford. All the great teams, there's a lot of continuity with the coaching staff, and that's something that you've kind of brought here. I don't, know whether that's something you're directly trying to do per se, but to just talk about how that is, benefits you as a head coach.
Yeah, it's not something I think about a lot. I do understand the importance of continuity, and we look at good programs. I mean, you just don't look any further than the top programs. And schools like Penn State, they've had the same staff for a long time, and Iowa, same staff for a long time, and I think even Oklahoma State for a long, long time when they were doing well, same staff. And so, and I look at my dad's program. When he was doing well, it was a lot about trying to build continuity, and because that matters in recruiting, and because everyone plays a part. Kids don't just choose schools simply for the school or for the head coach. They choose it a lot for who the assistants are, who the training partners are. So you want to keep things intact if you can. I certainly don't think about it a lot. I think it's just maybe credit to our environment is good, and I think well, one, Alex and I have known each other a long time, so that helps. We kind of know each other. We are philosophically aligned, and so working together is easy. And then when we added Joey, I think same thing, pretty aligned when it comes to the philosophy of coaching and how to be successful. Now we have nuances that are different, and that's good. That's healthy as well, because we aren't afraid to get into an office and talk about things and try new things and explore new things. But I appreciate you pointing that out, because now that I think about it, I take great pride in that as someone who's coached a long time, and generally speaking have had the same assistants. Even when I was at Stanford, Ray Blake was with me for 13 years, and Alex was with me for a huge part of that as well. Of course, he left for another opportunity that was a head coaching job, and I brought Jamel Kelly in, and he was on staff for a number of years. And so I think that's a good sign that you're running a program where the coaches generally want to stay and feel like they're getting the opportunities they need as coaches to develop. And so, yeah, it is important. I don't think about it a lot, but it's interesting when you point that out.
So you mentioned your dad, Tom Borrelli, longtime Central Michigan head coach. At the end of the regular season, he announced he was stepping down from his position, retiring. What did you think when you heard the news, and how's he doing?
I thought it's about time. My goodness. He's been doing it for a long time. I've thought for 5 years, every year, I thought it was going to be the last one. No, partially kidding, but at the same time, maybe I'm not. I'm happy for him. He had a long career, and did some amazing things. And he, really, if you're a historian of the sport and you look back into the late 90s, early 2000s, up until about 2010, Central Michigan was churning out NCAA All-Americans, multiple ones every year, and multiple top 10 finishes. I think he had a team that was 5th, 7th twice, 10th, 12th. He had a lot of really good teams. And so, had a great career, and happy for him, and glad that he was able to go out when he wanted to go out, right? He coached for 33 years at one school and was able to retire on his terms. Like, for me, that's something as a coach that you look and you think, well, that's probably doesn't happen for a lot of people, and so happy for him and my mom that they're now, not in the chaos of the everyday grind of coaching, and he's able to kick his feet up on the beach and relax a little bit. So happy, but there was some sadness, bittersweet, because it's been very enjoyable for me. Everywhere you go, every other weekend or so, you might run into your dad, whether it's at a tournament, or you're recruiting in the summer, or you're at the coaches convention, or you're at a turn, wherever it is. Like, I saw him a lot, and so that's pretty neat. Despite living all the way across the country, I was able to see him quite a bit throughout the year, and probably won't get to have that same luxury now. See them less frequently, probably over holidays. But so a little bit of sadness there, but happy for them overall.
All right. So as fans are following your team and just the wrestling season, there's going to be a little bit of a different look this year as the EIWA championships. Always was just a massive conference. It's gotten a little bit smaller with the Ivy League qualifying through the Ivy Leagues themselves. So, what was kind of your take when you hear this news?
I not incredibly shocked or surprised. Maybe a lot of people are, but we had 17 teams in our league, and there was always 6 traditional Ivies in there that made up those 17 schools. And so I actually felt like when I first started looking at the IWA and knew I was taking this job and coming in, one of the first questions that I thought of was, wonder why the Ivy League doesn't have their own qualifier. They already have 6 traditional schools, so they can be a conference. And then asked the question, and there was some people that talked about it's been discussed, and there's some reasons why they would rather be in through the IWA and all this. But so I kind of felt like it seemed like at some point maybe they would go that route because they have 6 traditional schools and they would want to control their own their own at-large spots, or not at-large, sorry, pre-allocated spots. Whereas you bring in a bunch of pre-allocated spots into a big league, a lot of those can get plucked off, and so then you're at the liberty of whether or not you get an at-large. And so I think in this situation, there's fewer teams now. There's going to be 6 of them in that Ivy League, and if they bring a bunch in, they're going to stay within those 6 schools, and they're not going to get lost. So it makes sense to me. I think for the EIWA as a whole, we certainly don't like losing those schools because they were all very competitive. I mean, you look at Cornell and Princeton and Penn and Columbia, and Brown's getting better, right? And probably missing somebody in there. I don't know who it is, but Harvard, and all of them are very competitive, and so we don't like that as an EIWA. But I think it makes sense. Not super shocked or surprised. I think it makes sense. And also, what the good thing about it, I guess, if you look on the EIWA side, although we lose some great competition, what we gain, in my opinion, is that our qualifier isn't as grinding going into the nationals. Whether it was a 16-person or 17-team league, you're wrestling a lot of matches. Some of these guys who are taking third are wrestling 6-7 matches, getting banged up, and then they have to turn around a week and a half later and be at the NCAA tournament. Now I think we'll have fewer matches, and so I feel like our athletes will be a little healthier possibly going into NCAA, so that's a positive for me.
So something I thought was really cool right around, well, it was at the NCAA tournament. After Max was eliminated, you had a tweet about somebody asking you how the team was doing or how your guys were doing, and you said you still had 4 or 5 left, and you were referring to the old Stanford guys that are in the tournament. And I thought that was pretty unique, just because with athletes transferring and changing, coaches taking jobs, sometimes you can just move on. And I'm sure when you're on the recruiting trail, you're talking to recruits, you're talking to parents, and you're saying you're building relationships, and you're gonna guide this young man into being a man, and you're kind of following through with that by publicly stating, these are my guys. They don't wear the same singlet as me, but they're my guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Just have amazing appreciation or respect for guys like Real Woods and Shane Griffith and Jaden Abbas and Nick Stimmett and Tyler Eichens. It's wild. To think that between American University and the Stanford guys, but then you have Tyler Eichens at North Carolina, you had Real Woods at Iowa, and Shane Griffith at Michigan. That's 5 schools represented. Guys wrestling at schools of guys I recruited and coached. And when I say I don't mean just I, but we. Obviously, Ray Blake and Alex Tirapelli and many others were involved in that recruiting of those guys. But just people that you have great pride in, and their families, and you have relationships with them, and so always followed them closely. And number one priority, I guess, was Max, because he's who I'm he's representing who I currently work for, but I was keeping a close eye on those guys' careers, and I still will this year. Jay Navis has another year, Nick Stimmett has a year. Some of the other guys, Jason Miranda, Peter Ming, there's Stanford guys that still have eligibility that I'll be watching really closely. Guys that were freshmen when in our last year, and so I do. To me, I think any coach would say this. Coaching's about relationships, and you build tremendous relationships with kids. You meet families and young men who are awesome, and you start working with them, and obviously life happens and things happen, and I end up in a different place, but it doesn't mean I don't care for them and really want them to be great and successful. So I'll keep watching them. So.
All right. So on a lighter note, as we're wrapping up, I the last time I kind of sat down with you like this, I guess I learned that you were a shoe guy, or maybe you were, maybe not as much. I don't know. What's the favorite thing in your collection? Favorite shoe?
I do like sneakers. I've stopped acquiring as many as I used to, mostly because when we moved here, I realized how many pairs I had, and my wife was like, "This is out of control." So I haven't done as much lately. But I would say I like the Jordan 6s. A little bit of it is nostalgia, back from my childhood. I loved those when they came out and had a lot of pairs when I was little. So as I've gotten older, I've acquired a few pair of the 6s that I really like, the infrareds and the UNC blues. Like those are really cool. And so but I like Jordans. I have two of my other favorites that are a little unusual. Are the Shack Attacks, the Reeboks, the pumps, the old pumps.
Yeah.
I love those. The turquoise, the white and turquoise. They're
Yeah,
awesome.
that was the original color. Yeah.
And then I have I like Iverson. I was a big Iverson fan, and so I have the Answers. And I don't know. I have a lot of shoes, and the weird thing about me is I don't wear a lot of them. I buy them, keep them in the box, or display them, and so most of mine just take up space, and that really annoys my wife, which is another reason I don't collect as much as I used to. But I always am paying attention to people's shoe game and watching. And I wore a pair of Jordans when Shane Griffith won in the finals. I wore Jordan 1s. They were gold. I had all black on, and I wore a pair of gold Jordan 1s, and so that's about the extent of me wearing most of any of my shoes. And those now sit on display in my house too. I had them sign them, and they just started sitting on my on a showcase. And so, yeah, I like shoes. I pay attention. I'm not collecting as much as I used to, but I have a lot of pair.
Awesome. So, okay, wrapping up, is there anything we haven't covered you want people to know about American University, the wrestling program, yourself, anything?
Well, I think what I would like people to know about AU is that we really are trying to build an elite program, and that's a national championship contending team. We have support here from the highest level. Our new president, our new athletic director, tremendously supportive. Obviously, alumni support is through the roof. We have a new building being built after a wrestling alumni, and we're going to have an awesome practice facility, training facility for wrestlers. We have great coaching staff. Joey Dance and Alex Tirapelli are top notch. And Gambayar Sanja, who is our volunteer coach, or our third assistant. Just great guys, and really care about the athletes and athlete development, and then long-term, like just life aspirations. They care about people. So we have everything you need. We don't have a football team here, so I think we don't have the big brand name recognition as a lot of schools, because people don't hear about us every day. But if you come here and you take a look, you'll see that the campus is beautiful. It's in an awesome area of DC. It's actually well outside of the downtown city, so you don't feel like you're in a city. Much more residential feel. It's not a concrete jungle. There's a lot of green, and it's real pretty and quaint and quiet. But you're close to everything, right? You're close to Virginia, you're close to Maryland, you're close to, if you want to go down to DC, but you can have the best of both worlds here. And because of that, I hope that people would, take a look and really explore the campus, because our administration and this campus community wants to be successful. And I have no doubt that if we keep doing things the right way and working hard, that in a few years we're going to be in a real good place.
Excellent. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.